Thank you, Ed. John Peterson.
Microphone, please.
How's that? Copy? Okay, it is very important in any election, whether you're doing it with a computer or you're doing it online, to read the damn instructions. Okay? Probably the thing that influenced the election most from not reading the instructions was in this section. In the national election, we had the votes for the revised Constitution. It is approved by 85% of the membership. New Constitution is in effect. Read it. It's different. The revised bylaws, also approved by 85% of the voting members. It is approved. The Creed Amendment. If you'll all raise your right hand, I'll swear you into the U.S. Navy for 6 years by memory. And the Creed now reads like that. We now support and defend the Constitution in the United States, not the government. So your creed has changed. In fact, it is really a surprise because we voted on this 3 or 4 years ago. Back when Clinton was president, people were mad at him for chasing Lewinsky, and it failed. But this time, 87% approved, support the Constitution of the United States, not the government. Amen. That's done. Now, we had 2 other amendments to the Constitution for the Holland Club requirements. And online and on the paper ballot, it was very clear, only vote for one, because the 2 were different. It's like saying the red light is go and the green light is go. You can't have both. And because a very large number of people did not read that and voted yes for both, a vote yes for both doesn't count. As a result, for the 2 Holland Club amendments, with 3,105 voters voting in that section, 611 voted for one, 1,007 for the other, which is a double vote, which does not meet the 2/3 of those voting requirements. So the Holland Club amendment, if we want to do that, will be submitted next time more carefully. But right now the Holland Club rules stay as they are. Those 2 amendments did not get approved by the members. Yep. Okay. Okay. That is the status of all your C&B changes. Any questions on that? Okay. You want to hold off on all?
I'm going to hold off on the candidates until towards the end of the meeting.
Okay, we're going to keep you in suspense on the candidates until later in the meeting, so you don't skip out and drink beer. Okay, we'll give it back. Okay, the election process. As was discussed, there is a requirement for a secret ballot. You had 2 choices. We went to an online voting system where you could log on, click on vote, and it would bring up the ballot with those candidates you're eligible to vote for. If you were in the Eastern Region North, you were only allowed to vote on the Eastern Region North candidate all the national election. If you were in Central, you could only vote on the Central region. Your online ballot only showed you what you could vote for. If you're an MAL, you don't get to vote for any region. So that was very clear, straightforward. In the paper ballot, of course, included everything, so you had to only vote for the candidates in your region, or the ones you're responsible for. Now, it's very clear in the C&B, and indeed I got a phone call and some emails of people complaining about Groton. They said, John Carchiapola, member, brought his computer to a meeting. So I called the active duty master chief. I called several other people in Groton and discovered that indeed he brought his computer to the meeting, and he was not close to it. Nobody was. It was available for members to vote, and that's good. That's what we want. Every base can do that. Bring the computer, log it on, so somebody can vote for themselves online. You don't have a computer. It's faster than mail. That's fine. There was no problem in Groton. 0. There were no problems in most of our bases. Only one base had a problem. I got a box about that big with about 300 ballots from Charleston base. And I looked at that and I said, that's great. That's really great. We're glad to have a turnout. We're glad to have you really push for the vote. And I opened the box and looked at it. And look, first of all, quite a few members in Charleston base have already voted online for themselves. In secret, at home, nobody knew it. Charleston base did a great job. I think they got 115 members. It's unbelievable. That's better than Groton does. 115 members to come to a meeting, which is great. If they had each filled out their own ballot and mailed it in either in one batch, I don't care, or by themselves, that would have been 115 more votes coming out of there, which would have been cast as shown. However, they were not satisfied with the 115 members who were there. They wanted to really be top dog, so they telephoned those members who were not there. And I don't know how many people, but I would say 3 or 4 teams sat there and they called Billy Bob and said, hey, you're not at the meeting. How'd you like to vote for him and him and him and him and him? Yeah, if you want to, sure. So they filled out ballots for people who weren't there. And I'm willing to accept that they didn't know any better. You know, it's not like they're going to make money on it. But in fact, 115 people were there, eligible to vote, and I guess did. And the rest of the ballots in the box, about 300, were no damn good. I can't be sure of everybody who was called, but I'll tell you, when you get a ballot and it's filled out in blue ink instead of the normal black. I've got a green pen in here, I've got a blue pen, and somebody takes the ballot and instead of making, just make an X, hell, it's just a vote, they make a check and a T through it. And it's in the same color ink. And you look at 4 or 5 of them, you say, well, that looks a little funny. And you got somebody else who really got an A in kindergarten, and you got a little box to put the X in, and instead of doing that, he takes his pen and he fills it in very neatly. So he fills in black all within the box, and none of it goes out. And you got a bunch in that handwriting doing that. Anyway, I looked at that and said, well, something doesn't smell right to me, and I used to live in Charleston, and I love fishing down there. So I said, none of these count. We're not going to take away the vote for you. Everybody, we want you to vote, but none of these are going to get counted. Tell your people to either fill out their own paper ballot and mail it, there's plenty of time, or get on their computer and vote online. Now, I'll tell you one other thing. Even if every single member of Charleston base had logged online fairly and voted, or if none of them had, it would not have changed the outcome of the election. If every single member voted in the same way, it would not have changed any of the candidate elections. If none of them, 0 votes were in there, it would not have changed any of the candidate outcomes. So understand that. Whether they didn't understand the rules or they did it deliberately, I don't know and I don't care. But we told them, and that was the status. Now, shall I tell them about the online voting?
Do so.
I guess. All right. After we did that, and I told people to vote online, I have the trend lines. I tracked the number of votes about 4 times a day throughout the entire election. I know what the voting stats and how many more votes for John, how many more votes for Pat came in during the morning couple hours, early afternoon and evening. I've got the damn trends for the entire election because it's the easiest way to see that something fishy is going on than it's normal. It's normal, very steady and very slow. We found out after Charleston was told to vote online, a very large number of voters did. They logged on for themselves and voted steady, 1 vote, 1 vote, 1 vote. And something over 140 members voted online. Then you've got to understand that our online election is on a government computer system. It's used by the CIA, it's used by the FBI, it's used by the Army Security Agency, and let me tell you, we can track any damn thing